A Fox News alert: Defense Secretary James Mattis set to step down at the end of February. In his resignation letter, Mattis says the president deserves a defense secretary whose views are better aligned with his. The surprise announcement coming as the U.S. prepares to pull troops out of Syria and Afghanistan. Let's bring in Peter Brookes, Senior Fellow for National Security Affairs at the Davis Institute at the Heritage Foundation. It sounds like the president told the defense secretary he wanted to pull troops out of Syria and Afghanistan. The defense secretary balked at that and offered his resignation.
Well, it appears they have a difference of opinion on policy issues. And of course, the president is the commander-in-chief, and he should have people that give him honest advice, unvarnished advice about national security issues or whatever the issue is from that cabinet member. And if they don't agree, I think it's reasonable for them to leave their post to find somebody who supports the president's agenda. That's the purpose of the cabinet secretaries. And John, we're still waiting to hear more about the president's decision, which surprised many of us. Until we do, I think it's reasonable to withhold judgment so that the White House can tell us exactly why it decided to move forward with Afghanistan and Syria.
Well, from a national security standpoint, though, there are critics on both sides of the aisle who say pulling troops out of Syria only emboldens Iran and Hezbollah. Pulling troops out of Afghanistan perhaps leads to the reincarnation of the Islamic State and al-Qaeda. It certainly helps the Taliban. What's your thinking on those two moves?
I share a lot of those concerns. I think that that Syria is very important to the United States, considering Russia's involvement there, the involvement of NATO ally Turkey, the Kurds who have been fighting ISIS there, ISIS itself and other violent Islamist extremist groups, Iran, Israel, which is an important partner and ally of the United States in that part of the world. Our Arab partners, so it's critically important. So I would have liked the administration to give us a little bit more about this policy decision before announcing it. And the same thing with Afghanistan. We know what happened on 9/11. I was at the Pentagon on 9/11. Actually, I was at the airport at Dulles on 9/11, but I was posted to the Pentagon. The fact is that we're concerned about what might happen there in Afghanistan regarding groups like al-Qaeda, groups like ISIS, and others. So there's a lot of reasons, and I think the administration owes us an explanation of why they made these decisions.
Lindsey Graham, member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, usually in sync with President Trump on most issues. He says he's concerned about this decision. Listen.
I don't know how this decision was made. It literally came out of left field. It has rattled the world. I can promise you that everything that happened in Iraq is going to happen in Syria unless we change course.
President Trump criticized his predecessor, President Obama, for pulling troops out of Afghanistan too quickly, too haphazardly. Does the president leave himself open to the same kind of criticism that he has now issued?
Potentially. I was a critic of President Obama regarding his 2011 withdrawal of troops from Iraq, which led to the rise of ISIS. So we have to think about this. And of course, you and I are outside of government, and the American people are outside of government. We rely on the Congress and the administration to have these deliberations and then explain it to us as to why this is in our national interest. So I'm waiting to hear that, why the White House believes maybe the State Department is in agreement with the president. Maybe it appeared the Secretary of Defense was not. And why this is the right decision. I'm going to be open-minded on it. But I do share Senator Graham's and others' concerns about how this affects American interests. But I would like to hear more as to how they came about this decision. Not necessarily the process, but more about what the reasons are for the decision to remove troops from Syria and Afghanistan.
Secretary Mattis will be in the job for another couple of months. We'll see who is nominated to replace him. Peter Brookes from the Heritage Foundation.